Hi everybody, it's Miss K. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Welcome back. Today we are going to learn how to write an equation using a proportional graph. So notice we can tell this graph is proportional because it's a straight line and it goes through the point 0, 0. So we're going to work today on creating a table from the graph, an equation from the graph, and then we're going to write some stuff about our situation from the graph. So basically what the graph is even talking about and what we can learn from the graph. So let's start by just figuring out what this graph is talking about. So our graph has two parts. It has an x-axis and a y-axis. And we label what those axes mean or what they're representing so that we can understand what the graph is talking about. In this case, we're talking about the speed of a sloth. A sloth, I'm going to draw a bad picture here, but it's an animal that just kind of rests all day. It mostly sleeps in the trees. You've probably seen, like, I don't know, I think it was in the movie Zootopia or something, the sloths at the DMV, but they move very, very slow. So this graph is showing the speed of a sloth, and this line represents the speed. Our x-axis is represented by time in minutes. So over here, I'm going to put time in minutes under my x column, which is the first column. Then in a different color, my y represents the distance in feet. So over here again, I'm going to say distance in feet. So if we look at this graph, it basically tells us at certain points how many minutes have passed and how far the sloth has moved. So now we need to pick some points so that we can put these points in our table. And remember, we call these points coordinates. When you pick a point, try to pick a point that falls on this blue grid because it will be easier to tell what the numbers actually mean. For example, this point is not on the grid because it doesn't fall on two blue lines. This point is on the grid because it falls on this line and it falls on this line. You can kind of think of it as if you had like a plus sign at that point, it would perfectly fit two lines. So I'm going to pick this point, and this point, so that they're all on the grid. Now we need to find the coordinates of each of those points. To do that, we're going to use the scale that's provided. Notice this scale, it doesn't have these tick marks labeled in between these numbers. But if you think about going from 0 to 1 with a space in the middle, that space needs to be 1/2. So that means that we're going up by halves each time. So this would be 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. All right, let's look at our first point here. So my time comes first, so I'm gonna start at this point and go down till I get to this point, 0.5. So that means that my x value is 0.5. For my y value, I start at this point, but I go over. It looks like our point is at a height of 3. So my first point in my table is 0.53. Our next point is at 1, 6. 1, 6. And our next point is at 1.5, 9. 5, 9. The last thing I'm going to put in this table is an x right there. Okay, so we're done with our graph because now we've created a table. The next thing we need is the constant of proportionality, which we can find by figuring out what we need to multiply across. I put x in this table because it's going to help us figure out our equation once we find our constant of proportionality. So if I think about what to multiply, we kind of have a nice number here. 1 times something is 6. Well, we know anything times 1 is itself. So that means we have to be multiplying by 6. 0.5 times 6 is 3. 1.5 times 6 is 9. Good. So that means anything we multiply times our minutes or our time must be times 6 to find our distance. We could write that as x times 6 or 6x. So our constant of proportionality is 6. Our equation is y equals 6x. If we wrote out the general form of our equation, that makes sense because our constant of proportionality is 6. So y equals 6 times x. The last piece of information is our situation. The sloth can move feet in minutes. Let's look at our first point. The sloth moved 3 feet in 0.5 minutes. So I can write, 3 feet in 0.5 minutes. The next point is the sloth can move 6 feet in 1 minute. 6 feet in 1 minute. Lastly, the sloth can move 9 feet in 1.5 minutes. And the last thing I'm going to write in our situation is just explaining what x and y in our equation represent. X represented time in minutes. Y represents distance in feet. All right. You guys are going to do exactly this for, I think there's 5 more problems. The first one, we already give you the points. Same with the second one. This one is a little trickier. I didn't realize these points don't fall on the grid. So you could pick new points if you want, or just use the points that they have already and just estimate. This one gives you the points, but you have to write the coordinates. And the last one, you guys have to put points on here and write down the coordinates. 4, 5. So yep, you have 5 problems to do. Once you finish that, make sure you submit it to Schoology and we can grade it and give you feedback. Have a great day. Bye.